Right. Whoa. And here we are again. And a very, very warm welcome to Danielea from the listening field. So let me introduce Danielea before I pass over to her. So she is a nature communicator, a mentor, a consultant, and has worked within a very wide Earth-centered field for a long, long time. But she discovered the listening field with her native elders in 2020 during the lockdown. How so many of us discovered something during that time. So let me first tell you a bit about her. As a consultant, she organizes listening fields for individuals, groups, and organizations wishing to communicate directly with the nature elders involved in their lives, businesses, and missions. And when you communicate with them, you receive messages, and the messages received during these dialogues are usually interpreted and used for strategic planning, transformative action, and so that these actions and the planning is aligned with nature's principles. And I hope I'm saying that right. Public listening fields with nature elders have also been employed to consult on regional and planetary topics, including how to restore right relationship with nature. And the purpose of the listening fields, and then I pass over to Daniela, is to provide a safe ceremonial space online where humans and nature elders can connect, communicate, and co-create from wherever they are based on Mother Earth. So this is a really co-creative approach, and we are really, really looking forward to it. And when we spoke before the summit, you offered to explain a bit about the birthing of the listening fields and what nature elders are and how you connect with them, and then how they can be employed, of course. And then you will lead us through an exercise, and I think we are looking forward to that. So whatever else you would like to say about yourself, please do so. And just to let you know, we will change the format a tiny bit. So after the talk, we will ask for questions, and then towards the end, Danielea will then do an exercise with you and then end with a surprise, which I'm not talking about, but you can repeat that. So I'm clicking myself out, and welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so honored to have you here. Over to you.
Blessings, everyone, and greetings. It's really, really an honor to be here and to present to you because I know that I'm speaking to tribe. I'm speaking to folks who have been on their own journey and their own version of my journey all these years. So thank you for having me. I'd like to begin by just playing what I call the Great Bowl. And the Great Bowl is a mix of 9 metals, as many of you know, and I use it to help bring myself and us present into this moment. Because as you well know, that the present moment is when we co-create together. So I just invite you to close your eyes and withdraw your attention from the screen. Beloved Mother, Father, God, Creator, Great Spirit, we give thanks for this day. We give thanks for the sacred breath of life. And we give thanks for this sacred time together with all of our relatives, human, nature, elemental, cosmic, seen and unseen. All are welcome, all have a voice here. Let us begin. As I was preparing for today, I was guided to share with you about the recent case studies that the listening field has been involved with. My personal story, albeit super interesting, is actually going to be the subject of a book that I'm working on this winter. And I know that many of us are involved in projects or in our local communities, so I'm hoping that what I'm sharing for you will give you ideas and inspiration about what's possible. I'd like to say three things just about myself and my way of being in the world. Whatever change I wish to see in the world, I do it on the inside first. It's just my practice. It's my way. And my motto is, if I want to know anything, go direct with the nature elders and listen 360. I believe that everything I require to know and understand can come when I do this practice. So the key thing to know about me is that my primary family and my life partners are nature elders from the water, rock, and tree people. And what this means is my orientation is always towards the nature elders in any environment. Even if I watch a video or a movie and there's two human characters on the side and they're at the edge of a lake, I'm going to be tuning into the lake elder and wondering who they are and wanting to meet them one day. So the reason I mention this now very openly is because I know that there's more people that are wired like me on the planet, and there is a reason. And for once I admitted this reason, my purpose and my mission and the reason for the specific gifts that I have became very clear. And then, of course, I was set on my path to develop them and arrive where I am today as the host of the listening field. So if anyone out there who is listening to this recording or listening to this now resonates in any way, I invite you to trust your intuition, trust who you love, and ask the nature elders if you need help around your mission. And if you need help with that, by all means, I'm always available to connect and to support you. So the focus for the presentation today is really an answer to the question, we all know that we need to partner with nature. We know that we need to do this, but what does that mean in practical terms? So this is what I want to focus on with you today. So as you can see, the whole focus for the listening field is partnering with nature elders for life. So as you already heard Krista say, the listening field, it's an online ceremonial space where groups of humans and nature elders meet to connect, communicate, and evolve together. Now, it's worth noting that we also host listening fields on land, and we did so this summer down in the Atlantic provinces as part of an action research experience. The key words, the key principles of the listening field are that it is open, emergent, responsive, and evolving. And as Krista said, it showed itself in 2020 when I could no longer travel to meet and communicate with my nature elders. It was the rock people at that time, and so discovered that this space could be opened. What I did discover in year one was these 4 key principles. And emergent and responsive, you'll see, become important when I speak to one of the case studies today. The other principle of it is that in the listening field, we assume that all beings are sovereign, intelligent, and integral to the web of life. And so my orientation is, water, rock, and tree, but who shows up to speak in the listening field can be anyone. So they can be off planet. We've had from Sirius, we've got elders from Fairy. They can be elemental, they can be Mother Earth, it can be anybody. And they know now, after this is our 4th year, nature elders in the planet seems to know that if they show up in the heart of someone, that a listener, that person knows that they want to speak, and they will invite them into the listening field, and they become part of the conversation of that moment. And then, of course, lastly, we honor all personal and cultural ways of connecting and communicating with nature elders and relatives. So all of you and everyone has their own way of connecting and communicating. You have your own vibration, your own unique relationship with nature. What's unique about the listening field is that we do this together. And what we've discovered is that the group field amplifies all of our ability to communicate with our nature elders and relatives. So one more thing I want to say, and that is who can, in the human section, like who can be part of this? Do you need to be an experienced nature communicator? Absolutely not. We've discovered that as long as you have a love bond with a particular nature elder, a tree, a body of water, a mountain, Mother Earth, etc., on the strength of that love, when you invite them to come into the field, they come. And then who are the nature elders? The nature elders is a term that I coined in 2020 when I began to speak publicly and openly about my 10-year apprenticeship with the nature elders. And it's simply a subjective term that I invite anyone to use if they choose to describe someone you consider to be older and wiser than you. Now, a nature elder could be the lead tree in a grove of trees, so they might not actually be an elder chronologically, but they're an elder in their own community. So by using this term, I'm just extending that respect and that love to these relatives in a way that feels resonant with what I've received from them and the relationship that I have with them. So what is the call of the listening field? In essence, it's to show up, to listen, to trust what you hear and feel, to allow yourself to be changed. This is important, that when we are in dialogue, direct dialogue, heart to heart with a nature elder, that we do our best to let go of what we think we know. And that allows us to be open to hear, feel, receive something that we haven't yet seen, felt before. And of course, the invitation is to step into co-creative partnership. It's my belief that unless we do this, doesn't have to be the listening field, it can be any other format or form, that resonates for you. But unless we do this, it's likely that we may be recreating some of what we've already done before. So I believe that they're essential and that we're in our own blueprint. We're designed for this. We're absolutely designed for this. So there's 6 steps in the listening field. The first one, hear the call. The call seems to come either through a human who then gets in touch with me, or the call can come directly to me from nature elders. And this will apply to one of the case studies I'll share with you. The second stage is preparation and consent. So it's about me finding out what's going on in that community, what are the issues, and then the consent involves opening an initial listening field with the nature elders we think want to be involved to find out if they actually do. Several times we found out that those who we thought would be the ones, like they're the ones directly involved by something that's happening in the community, they weren't the ones that came forward to speak. So this is important because everybody in the listening field is there by consent, by express consent. And so again, always checking first, never assuming that a tree or a body of water wishes to be involved in this process or wishes to speak with us. So then the third session is the listening field. So it happens usually in an hour and a half to 2 hours. It has a preparation, an attunement, and then we do the solo listening time, which can be anywhere from 8 minutes to 15 or 20 minutes. And then once the solo listening time is complete with whichever nature elders you're choosing to, people are invited to put in the chat, who did they speak to and what did they receive? Then followed by that, we have a short live sharing time because of course, as you know, things are transmitted verbally that can't be captured in the written format. Stage 4 and 5 are very important. And again, I want to just emphasize that everything I'm sharing with you is come from discovery and direct experience. Everything is emergent here. So it's just what I know in the moment and it could change the very next day. But what we've noticed is, 1, So it's really important that the messages that are received need to be distilled, they need to be cleaned up, they're in a text file. And then number 5, interpret meaning. So here's what we're discovering as well, is that the words, first of all, the messages that you receive in the listening field, or we receive, are an alchemy of the human and nature consciousness. So it's a very subtle interweaving or web. And as anyone knows with nature communication, there's human filters present, of course, and they can be present through a varying degree. And of course, that continuum with nature communication could be the topic of an entire call. But leave it let it be said, though, what we've discovered with these messages is that it's less about the words themselves, and it's more about the energy transmission. There's an energy signature that comes from the nature elder that is received by the human, who then sometimes translates it into words, other times receives words directly if that nature elder is able to do that translation themselves. And so what we're discovering is that it's really important that this interpret meaning, that there's time taken by the group, for example, to unpack the messages that are received, because we're discovering that they seem to be connected to some kind of holographic knowledge, and that the words again may be very simple, and yet what the energy signature takes us to a new place that we haven't gone before. And then number 6 is develop and integrate a strategy. So it's my particular mission, I would say, that not only to host these spaces where the voices and the wisdom of the nature elders can be heard, but also to share the messages and to invite and encourage us to take them into action. As any elder, human as well, we really honor their time, and when they give it to us and they share their wisdom, these are precious gems that we take and we hold dearly and then do something with for the good of all. Listening fields can be opened for any sincere and meaningful purpose. These 5 are the ones that have been shown to us so far. So explore the frontiers of co-creative partnership, and it's implied in that is building relationship, just period. Like sometimes I open listening fields for someone because they just want to make first contact. They live on a particular property, they haven't yet communicated, and they just need some help opening contact with an elder tree or the river that runs through it, etc. Second, discover new frameworks for local and planetary issues. I'm going to share a case study about that one in particular. Conduct action research. I won't speak much about this, but I will give you an example. Last summer here in Canada, we were experiencing extreme wildfires, Canadian wildfires, and then also flooding. And so I opened a listening field with a group of 16 people living all over North America, and we consulted with various nature elders who were affected by the floods and the fires to ask them, what do they mean? What do they mean from their perspective? And we were astonished at what they replied. It was nothing like we perceive what forest fires are and floods. Experience reconciliation and healing. This, I will have summarize a case study for this one. And then the last one, network among diverse nations, races, and species. So we've actually seen nature elders come into the listening field. This happened with a listening field we hosted with an elder mother tree, a larch tree, who lives on top of the gas chambers in Auschwitz. And we found out that there were two other, there was an oak tree elder at the entrance to Auschwitz, and there was another tree who had this very unusual burl. And they both wanted to speak also in the listening field. So they presenced themselves in the heart of the person who was connecting us with this larch tree from Auschwitz. And so this was an example where we discovered that it didn't seem as if those 3 trees had been in communication with each other at all. But because they were all 3 of them in the listening field, they were starting to connect with each other. And then they also, because we had kapok trees from the Amazon and all kinds of other nature elders, they were connecting with them in the listening field. So that was a bit of a surprise to see that the networking was happening amongst the nature elders, not just the humans themselves. And then also diverse nations, that'll come up a little bit, and races in the next slide. So I'm going to stop the screen share right at the moment, and I would like to share with you a little bit about the first case study. So this one took place in, oh my goodness, I'm looking at the time. All right, I'm going to be super, super short. Community group hosts an annual event. This is the second year on this particular site. They want to take their event to a whole new level. 2 weeks before the event, I host a listening field with the 8-member organizing team, who are also healers. They're going to be offering healing sessions, energy healing, on site at this event. And so I host it with the organizers and the nature elders who live on that site where they're going to be in 2 weeks. And so a variety of landscape and tree elders came forward and spoke individually to the organizer and healers. Some of them wanted to partner with the organizer in their healing sessions, and others in the sacred dance activity. And then 3 came forward with with the same instructions about how they would like them to relate to the land, which the organizers then integrated into their ceremony. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the lead organizer received a message from a tree elder she completely didn't expect. And the message alerted her to the possibility that she was going to have to make a last minute change on site right in the moment before the whole thing started. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. And so she was able to make that choice really easily because she recognized the scenario, and therefore had no stress and was able to accommodate a large group of key presenters. So I want to share just one message from the lead organizer, who simply said, "The listening field ceremony made our collective group experience richer and our awareness more joyous, because we took the time to not only appreciate the nature elders who live at the event site, but also to listen to them and consciously partner with them, both in our preparations and with the public on event day. Everyone benefited." So the next case study I would like to speak to is also very recent. In fact, it just happened last week. And this involves a community in Carbondale, Colorado. And this is a situation in which the U.S. Forestry Service owns a piece of land right on the main street of town, and it's a ranger station. And they have received grant money to do a rebuild. The problem is that the rebuild involved removing 2 really large, beautiful blue spruce trees, as well as 3 heritage or historical buildings. Well, when the plans were first made known to the community, it was right before COVID, and it didn't really receive much attention. Last summer, when the town hall meeting happened, a citizens group was organized to try and see if the build plans could be redesigned in order to save these 2 beautiful spruce trees, and to relocate one of the buildings intact. Well, 6 months of their efforts didn't yield what they wished. And on January the 5th, they hosted a vigil just to let the tree elders know they were feeling grief about the fact that they were going to be cut down. So when I came into the picture, I was asked, could I open a listening field with the tree elders on the property? And in fact, we held 2 listening fields. One was the traditional meet and greet, but what we found out was that there were like 9 nature elders that wanted to speak. And so there were 3 of us listeners, 2 of the organizers, and myself. And so we really took the time to listen to them. And some of them were not only the overarching mountain, Magua, but also the human ancestrals of the Nooch. And so what we discovered is that by giving these relatives a chance to speak to us, we felt the energy on that land shift even after, excuse me, the first listening field. And then the second one we hosted 4 days later with a larger group of citizens. And there was again this sense that from the messages people received, that they had done everything that they could. The elder spruce tree, especially, expressed their gratitude that people had taken the time to speak with them. And basically the messages were, this is about the cycle of life. This one has ended. It's okay. And so some of this comes from us being able to some of the gift comes from us being able to feel settled, that we've done what we can. And that these tree elders are not grieving. They are understanding the cycle is life. Now, would it be nicer if things were done differently? Absolutely. But at this moment, this is what is, and they are quite accommodating of that. So I just want to show a quick image. These are this is when they first began last summer to raise awareness in the town. And then over here is a photo by Amy Haddon Marsh of the local newspaper. And this was the vigil that they hosted with the tree elders. So where we are now, of course, the fences are up. People don't have access to them. This picture is literally from yesterday in social media. And you can see here a couple of the messages that were received. So the Nooch ancestors, thank you for hearing and asking. To be heard is the greatest gift. And then their message was, we gift you the energy of impermanence. Seasons come and seasons go. We moved in and moved on from this land. Impermanence is. And there, of course, is the message that I relayed from the blue spruce tree elder. Thank you for asking and for the love. It's okay. There is something bigger happening here than us trees. And then there was a real surprise. One of the women said, I couldn't believe it. There's a group of young men who built these buildings back in the 1930s. And I choose to remember what the acronym means. If you're American, you probably can know what that is. And they said, Carbondale is a vortex of positive and creative energy, work together to create something new and meaningful to honor Nooch, the CCC, and nature, include children. So the other thing that came out of this in the discussions that we had right after the listening was people were really realizing how much they wanted to be involved in what was happening in their town. And also we began to imagine together, wouldn't it be wonderful if there were actually processes in place that consulted not only with the humans, but also with the nature elders when property development plans were going to be happening. So of course, that's very much in line with what the listening field is. So the next one that I want to share with you is the last one falls under the category of new frameworks for planetary issues. Of course, the previous one was healing and reconciliation. So with this next one, everybody knows October 7th, 2023. Something happened in our world consciousness. And within 3 or 4 days of that happening, I was being guided to open a listening field with the nature elders in the Middle East. Now, I wasn't personally in a place where I felt like I could hold that with the neutrality and the joy that's required to hold it. So I waited until I had gone through my own initiation and felt whole inside of myself, and then hosted the first listening field with the nature elders of the Middle East on October the 28th. What was interesting there was that 4 nature elders, olive trees from 4 different locations came forward to give messages and to partner with the people in the listening field. Now, I was unaware at that point of the relationship between olive trees and peace. I was probably the only one in the listening field who wasn't aware of it. But one of the nature elders who came forward was a 4,000-year-old olive tree named Al-Badawi. And he lives in a Palestinian village called Al-Walajay. And so on that date, several important messages came through, and I decided to continue opening listening fields with Al-Badawi. But first, I'd like to share with you this beautiful, beautiful message that was shared with us by one of the listeners. And we have a little short 1-minute video to share with you. And what's happening, just to give you a sense of what's happening, is that there's an emerging alliance between humans and olive trees. Fairy has come in now. And so we're just in a place where there's a group of us starting to gather, and we continue to listen. We're holding listening fields every month with the olive trees. And we've discovered that Al-Badawi is a huge, what I would call a planetary elder, and he's connected with olive trees all over the world. And so we're starting to see, oh, this is what it might look like when, as a species, we start to partner with a particular nature elder, because they carry the frequency of peace, which we need to learn about in order to evolve into our next way of being. Hmm, that is strange. Give me a second here. I'm going to stop share and start again. See if that will do it. Wow.
It's not working then.
Yeah, no, I see that. It's just very strange. So essentially, what what you can see this on our YouTube channel. And there's 2 messages from Bev Templeton. And basically what the olive trees said to her when she was in dialogue with them was, switch one letter in our name and olive becomes I love. And this was our first clue that there was that they were carrying an energy that they were going to help us with in terms of peace on Earth. So the other thing I wanted to just share is that during the 5th listening field, I was guided to invite in a magician who is bonded with a fairy sage, and named Timoria, and her daughter Salah, who is a tree mage. And Timoria had been in the listening field previously, and I really trusted her perspective, let's put it that way. As many of you know, the race of fairy is very old. They're living in the same time, but they're in a space that's beside us, if you will. And what I've learned from them is what we do in our world affects their world. And so some of them are coming forward now to be involved in what's happening in our world, because they recognize that not only do we need some of their help and perspective, but it's time for us to be working together. And what Timoria let us know is that humans actually don't know what peace is yet. That in our recorded history, we have only ever had war. And one of the reasons why this alliance with olive trees is emerging right now is that for those of us who choose to partner or to connect with olive trees, olive oil, olives, right? Energetically, it's going to help us open new portals of imagination that we need in order to imagine what real peace is on Mother Earth. So I was really grateful for that confirmation. because as you can tell, much of what goes on in the listening field, we are going from trusting our intuition. So here's one of the other messages that she brought through was just this awareness that we are now, as I said in these 2 short videos, sharing as an education piece, that olive oil is a tree essence, just like essential oils that many of us use, and it's an elixir of peace. So when we ingest it consciously, we connect with peace and love. And then, of course, as we do that more and more, we radiate waves of peace that infuse other humans around the world. So I'm going to stop the presentation here and just simply say that I'm understanding that the listening field is one of many opportunities for us to experience what co-creative partnership can look like through telepathic nature communication, both in a listening field ceremony itself, but this can be something that is ongoing for each of us in our everyday lives. And of course, this is what has been happening for me for the past 15 years. So I wanted to open up the gallery and open up the mic for any comments, any questions, either about what I've shared, or if there's something about my personal story that you would like to understand, I'm happy to answer them.
One which has been on back along. Can you see that, Karen?
Yes, I said to Daniela, it was there. Maya's given feedback in the chat. I don't know if you could see.
Oh, yeah.
Shall I read it or?
There's another one right now about large trees. So put your experiences in the chat if you have any.
And there's one above it. She
Yeah,
says,
that's the
it's
one.
Maya. She says, I get this, Danielea. I did not have a name for it. Back along, I had a call from a beach. It was a shout, in fact. I rushed off to find the source of the shouting in my mind and traveled about a mile over a river. And there was the beach being bulldozed by a digger to make way for housing. Her girth had a meter of 3 meters. I responded with, travel to another with your knowledge and I will find you. I went straight away to a garden center and she called me from the racks. I took her home as a small tree, maybe 3 meters tall, and she has been she's become quite a magnificent young tree without a knowledge, and I hope she's still there today. Sorry, I thought that wasn't from today. But anyway, thank you for sharing, Maya. That was lovely.
Wonderful. That is exactly where you received the call, you responded to it. And I've heard that before. One of the other listeners in our group, Pam Tursa, who's the founder of the Tree Diaries Facebook group, she had that experience where one of her tree elders is no longer in form and lived temporarily in a stump, and then is now communicates with her. She's no longer in form here. I love this one here, Max. Find a plot where you can plant more of us. And that's where your home is. Wonderful clue. Wonderful clue. Yes, I'm sure it is a long story. We have certain, I would say, life tree families. Mine are the Sitka spruce, and Max, it looks like the larch, the beloved larch, are yours. So beautiful, beautiful. I know they appreciate you. Anyone else just want to share if they received anything in this last?
Yeah, please unmute yourself if you want to add something.
There's Danai, a large coconut tree rooted in the island where I grew up, connected to the stronger hurricanes that are forming these times. I could not get past the shame of what we were doing as humans. I totally understand. And Danai, this is one of the reasons why it is so important for us to have these relationships and direct dialogues with the nature elders. Because honestly, when we feel guilt and shame about what we have done, first of all, the nature elders have already forgiven us. They never judge us. They love us completely and totally. And so I understand that it is important for us to forgive ourselves so that we can then get to work co-creating them. So thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability. It's important that you continue that work so that you can release that.
And there's another one. Can you see from here?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Suzanne with the, yeah, trust your intuition and heart. And remember these things. Like for me, it's like they become my guiding. It's like when people pull cards, right? It's from the nature elders. And then Mia knocked off her bike. They let me know there were much more powerful spirits at play. Yes, perfect. And besides, it's kind of, yeah, asking like, what was my role in what happened there? Was it random, or was there another reason that you were there? I connected with an ancient twisted beach. I know it is protected and is over 300 years old, and it always feels so protective and full of wisdom. Beautiful. And there you have a guide that if you're ever unsure about what to do and again, I'm very brief when I speak to the elders. I just say, I'm having this problem. I'm feeling, really depressed lately. I'm unable to act. I'm seeing this thing that's happening in the world. Help me feel better. So that I can, move into action or da 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 da. So just very briefly, they just need the bare bones of your story. All right. Beautiful. Well, I'm so glad you had an experience. I want to share one last thing before I'm gonna do that little 1 minute song, and that is that when the Alliance for the Olive Tree started to emerge, and also I just wanted to let you know that actually the olive tree has become my new nature elder. I didn't think that was going to happen, but they are. So I'm going to go to Crete to meet. There's a lot of ancient olive trees there, so I'm going to go there to meet them very soon. But what I wanted to say is that when the event started to unfold last fall, I realized that earlier last summer I partnered with a youth organization and designed a nature connection program called Nature and Me for youth. And the organizer was out of Egypt, and so most of the youth that were involved were from the Middle East. And one of them in particular, week 4 of the event, I asked them to problem solve with their nature elder. So think of a problem that they have, a little bit like we did today, and go to your nature elder, tell them what's going on, and ask them for guidance. Well, this young woman named Nada Fayed, and her video, beautiful 2-minute video, is on the Listening Field YouTube channel. So I highly recommend you go and watch this. She was having a relationship problem with someone in her community. And the tree elder, he's an ancient tree elder, and he lives on land beside the Nile, but he's also partly in the water. So I think that that's significant. The tree elder said to her, July 16th, 2023, it is in the moments when you can get away with being cruel that it is important that you be kind, because it changes everything. And then I think about what happened just a mere 3 months later, right? It is in the moments when we can get away with being cruel that it is important that we be kind. And we see how that isn't what has happened. That isn't what has happened. So, I think that they can be very portentous. They can give us, information that we need because they have that bigger and longer perspective. Yes, I know I've heard that with the olive trees in Italy. Again, we could open a listening field online. You know what I mean? Like, all we need is to have people who are heart bonded with the olive trees in the listening field, because when you call them, they will come and we can speak with them. So please get in touch with me. I know we're at 9 o'clock and we're out of time. So I'm happy to let the little song go.
No, give us the
No?
song.
Okay.
Yeah, but why don't we do it like this? Why don't we say goodbye to you and thank you ever so much for coming all the way from Canada with all these waves and being here and talking to us, and for the exercise. And somebody just said wonderful, excellent sharing, and so on. And then you sing the song and sing yourself out and sing us out. So thank you ever so much, Daniela. And then I will, Danielea, and I will then click you out and bring everybody in. Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please reach out, be in touch. So I received this song in a private listening field. So I do private mentoring and private listening field. And it was the first time I'd had a human elder in a listening field with like 6 nature elders. And this song came through. There's just vocables to it, but then I'll share the essence in a couple of words after. We have always been whole. We have always been together. And we are again. We are begun. Human, nature elders, ancestors, future generations. We are begun. Blessings and thank you, everyone.